If your home isn't selling right now, it's usually not because you're wildly overpriced. What's happening instead is more subtle and more dangerous. The market is quietly passing over a specific type of listing, and most sellers don't realize they're in that category until weeks have gone by. In this video, I'm going to explain why some homes are sitting even when the price looks reasonable, and more importantly, how buyers are actually making decisions in today's market. This is not theory, this is what's playing out every week. Most sellers assume buyers decide based on price alone. They don't. They decide based on comparison. Price only matters after your home wins that comparison. If your home isn't clearly better in one or two meaningful ways, it doesn't get rejected, it gets skipped. And that distinction matters more now than it ever has. Right now, buyers are comparing more homes than they have in years. There's more inventory, more choice, and more time to think. So instead of falling in love with a listing, buyers are building a short list. They're ranking homes. They're deciding which few are worth seeing again, which feel like compromises, and which don't quite justify the effort. Their real question isn't, is this home worth the price? It's which of these homes feels like the best option for me? That's a very different decision. Your competition isn't the market as a whole. It's the 8 to 12 homes buyers are also considering at the same time. Those are the listings your home is being measured against. And if your home doesn't clearly land in that top tier, buyers don't argue with themselves. They don't debate it and they don't circle back later. They move on. This is where a lot of sellers get confused. They look at their asking price and think that seems fair. And very often they're right. But fair price doesn't always feel like value. Two homes can be priced very similarly and feel completely different to a buyer. One feels like a clean decision, the other feels like a compromise. And buyers are very sensitive to that difference right now. They're asking themselves questions like, what am I getting at this price? What am I giving up? What work am I inheriting? What stress am I adding to my life? Those questions are rarely asked out loud, but they're always there. And if the answers feel unclear, messy, or uncertain, the listing slows, even if the price looks reasonable on paper. This is why you can see a home's price listed within a few $1,000s of each other perform very differently. One gets traction, the other quietly stalls. And that brings us to urgency. A few years ago, urgency did a lot of the heavy lifting. Buyers felt pressure, they felt worried about missing out, and they were more willing to overlook flaws, compromise on layout, or accept work they weren't excited about. That is not the environment that we're in today. The urgency is gone, and when urgency disappears, buyers become more analytical. They notice everything. They notice photos that don't explain the layout clearly. They notice rooms that feel smaller than expected. They notice lighting, flow, and how easily they can imagine living there. They notice when a home isn't actually a fixer, but still gives off the "this will be work" signals. And when buyers don't understand a home quickly, they don't dig deeper. They don't try to figure it out. If buyers can't understand your home in the first 10 seconds online, they don't even book a showing. They just move on. That's why presentation and framing matter more than they did in faster markets. Not because buyers are pickier, but because buyers have options. And when urgency is low, clarity has to replace it. If your home doesn't make the decision easy, buyers wait. And waiting kills momentum. This is why listings that struggle rarely feel like they failed all at once. They don't just crash, they stall. They sit just long enough for buyers to start wondering why. They sit long enough for confidence to soften. And when that happens, sellers often feel like price is the only lever left. But price is rarely the first thing that went wrong. So what actually fixes this? There are only 3 levers that move a listing: positioning, presentation, and pricing posture. Positioning is about who the home is really for and what it's competing against. Presentation is about how clearly the home shows, feels, and reads online, not just how nice it looks in person. And pricing posture isn't just the number, it's the message the price sends relative to the alternatives buyers are seeing. Most listings that stall don't need everything changed. They usually need one of these levers adjusted, sometimes 2, almost never all 3. The challenge is knowing which one applies to your home, because every home competes in a different comparison set, and that's why generic advice online only goes so far. What works for one property can quietly hurt another. If you're thinking of selling, even if it's months away, I offer what I call a strategic listing readiness review. It's not a price quote and it's not a sales pitch either. It's a breakdown of how your home would actually be received by today's buyers, what would quietly hold it back, and what would meaningfully improve your outcome. It's designed to give you clarity before decisions become public. If that kind of clarity would be useful, there's a link in the description. Homes don't sit because buyers disappear. They sit because they lose the comparison. In the next video, I'll break down why the first 14 days of a listing matter more than anything that comes after.